We're having to re-upload this morning's live. Something very strange happened with YouTube. But while I'm here, could I please ask you all to just hit that subscribe button. It's only Mark and I here just trying to get this news out. And please share. It's so important that people know what's going on. Thank you.
Good morning, coffee moaners.
Good morning. Hope you're all well.
I'm sure numerous of you, like us, are probably a little bit tired, a little bit frayed at the edges, having been monitoring the Humanitarian Flotilla vessel, Madeleine, last night. For those of you who don't know, a ship was Gaza bound with 12 humanitarian activists on it.
Probably taking the bravest people we'll talk about.
Taking a symbolic, not game-changing, but symbolic amount of aid to Gaza to try and land from the sea. And they were intercepted in international waters, an international crime, by the way. They were doused in unknown chemicals, another international crime. They were then abducted and they were then kidnapped, and they have been taken into some kind of custody by the IDF, another international crime.
And so before we go any further, just like I just did over on Instagram, we just want to thank our community here
and the expanding community of people. Yeah,
because here's the thing. There were thousands upon thousands of posts yesterday as all of it was happening, which is what they asked. We always saying, what can we do? What can we do? Yesterday, an army of humanitarians, of humanitarian online warriors pulled together and amplified the horror story. In 2010, another ship from the Freedom Flotilla was attacked by a special unit of the IDF, one of which was one of the units that went on the Freedom Flotilla last night, and they killed 10 humanitarians. So it was so important that all eyes were on the flotilla, all eyes. That wash over social media will have made a difference. And that moves me to tears when we are in a world where our political leaders, psychopathic leaders, don't care enough. And when social media is used for good, oh my God, that network. Wow, it really moved me.
And not just our leaders have been, we were just discussing, Nadia was just doing an Instagram live, the two topics we're going to discuss this morning. You're going to be, at first glance, you might think, well, okay, what's the connection? And they are so inextricably entwined in terms of the psychology and the psychopathy and the authoritarianism that's at the base of both the Gaza flotilla that's been kidnapped and also the violence in Los Angeles that from the get-go, we must stress, has been provoked by Donald Trump. Okay, before we get into it, it's very easy. I even nearly fell into it because one's looking for brevity in description. Los Angeles riots. Whoa, hang on a minute. That parks the responsibility with a populace causing a riot. But we're going to talk about that too. But the two stories are equivalent. It's no exaggeration to say that America is literally, certainly Los Angeles, due to Trump's interference and involvement, is on the cusp of tipping into civil war. It's happened, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to unpack that.
Yeah, alchemy of feeling, they are inherently linked, absolutely.
Inherently linked and inextricably entwined, and they really make sense of, what's the phrase, in our millions?
In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. You've heard me quote that many times about what we say at the marches, and people are like, oh, don't call me a Palestinian. What does that mean? That means that what they do to them, they can do to you.
Keep that thought in your head. Keep the IDF in your head. Keep the IDF squads that boarded the ship. Keep the footage you've seen at the aid points in Palestine and Gaza. Keep the violence that you've seen the IDF enact against civilians in Gaza, in the West Bank, by settlers. And when you keep all that in your head, because when we show you the footage from Los Angeles, you're going to be like, shit me not.
Also, when they grab children off the street and take them into prison with no charges, children into military prisons. Also, watch what's happening in LA as you see children screaming and children having to represent themselves in court. This is America. They're doing this. So this is so important. And, to peacefully protest via social media is incredibly powerful. To see the network of people across the world holding hands and saying, we are going to try, and if you take the example of the Freedom Flotilla, the world just holding hands around them, posting, so that all governments know. We are actually watching, because the news channels didn't tell you. They didn't tell you. They didn't inform you.
And can I just also say something that's really important to lots and lots of people who often will probably look at their numbers, look at their subscribers and think, oh, but it's tiny. What difference does it make? I like to look at social media when you have a community, and I think very much around the Palestinian crisis, around the Gaza flotilla. You have a purposeful analogy. You have a mothership. You'll have sizable accounts like Nadia's. You'll have huge accounts. And around those accounts, regardless of how small your account is, you are the crucial foot soldiers that spread the message to 1, 2, 3 people.
One little pebble, I would say, as the Buddhists say, a tiny pebble, like tiny ripple. Every time you post, every time you have a conversation, every time you find out something new, you are part of a humanitarian army without leaving your home. So we are powerful.
And also on that note, we are going to be talking, I don't want us to miss this, we are going to be talking about the legacy media. For those of you who don't know what that means, legacy media means they're the legacy, they're the overhang from old. It's the BBC, it's the Telegraph, it's the Times, it's the media of the authorities that purports to hold a torch to the feet of authority, but actually forever perpetuates the iniquities and the unfairnesses and the propagandized narratives that governments around the world want to keep promoting. So legacy media is a media. I'll tell you what has happened today, and we'll go back to this. I promise you, when you look at Los Angeles and you look at the news outlet that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has gone to do his interview, the legacy media needs to worry as much as Western leaders need to worry. People are so unheard, and people aren't turning to so-called democratic electoral systems to be heard. And this is dangerous because, of course, there's also a bear trap. Remember the term bear trap. Israel's policy in Gaza is littered with bear traps. They lay bear traps everywhere for people who are emotional and passionate and who are oppressed to fall into. So just bear all of these thoughts in mind.
And always when you post, don't post anything that is any way could be deemed as too aggressive, or you have to watch your language. You have to do all of that so that you can pass these bear traps, not fall into the mine, not get your account cancelled. You have to be,
and it's hard that, because you don't want to censor yourself,
but at the same time, higher level than the IDF, who post the most disgusting videos, doing the most disgusting things. We have to be higher than that.
Now we're going to just take a step back. We're going to go back to probably the clip where it looked like this was the last clip that came from the flotilla, in terms of from someone's phone on the flotilla on the boat last night. This was the moment that it looks like they boarded and arms went up. I'm just going to show you this clip.
Please go to your places. Ditch their phones.
Ditch your phones. Ditch your phones. Now, this was actually being said. I'm going to show you a clip now, which is an onboard, I think, Ring doorbell type camera that was still recording. It's long, so I'm going to cut it short at some point. But these were the last moments as the IDF boarded the ship.
Be very protective for us.
Guys, oh my God!
Yes, and I take over. These people are here. We mean the journalistes, humanitairement, rien à faire en prison. Mobilisez-vous, mobilisez-vous. Go to your places. Ditch their phones. Ditch their phones.
That's the actual crew.
So just to clarify, they were saying ditch their phones again because they don't want the IDF to get their hands on their phones. They'll have got all their material out. They don't want it deleted. They were saying ditch their phones again because they don't want the IDF to get their material out.
Phones in the water, please. Assume position, please, everyone. To the water.
Sound on the ship.
My computer, I have got the computer.
They're literally throwing phones overboard, and you understand why they're doing that. And there's a lot of footage like that where they sit and then they sit and they put their hands up. The reason that's happening is so that whatever limited stuff they have posted and got to the outside world, the IDF won't be able to get in there and delete it.
And just to give some more context on our evening last night, in case you weren't with us, and many of you were on the lives, and thank you for that, was that through the day we had been watching and listening to them, you know, on the blue seas and talking about we're going to get there. We've been told, we've been given 3 options by the IDF to move on. I can't remember. The third option was elimination. They had 3 options. One. Now remember, what they were doing was not illegal. They were in international waters. This isn't like Israel had jurisdiction over them in any way.
No.
So it was illegal what they were doing. And then we had and then as it went through the night, the IDF were coming and circling them. And at one point they came really close to the boat. There were lots of lights going off, and they were like, okay, huge adrenaline from the crew, saying, right, this is it. They're coming on board. They're going to take us. And of course, don't forget, their colleagues in 2010 had been shot and killed or kidnapped and tortured.
They were preparing for
they were prepared for everything. So all eyes on it was amazing, was absolutely amazing. And so they had this huge thing. Everyone posted out. They're being taken, all eyes on thingy. And then we got another post saying, okay, they've moved away. So it was a bit of psychological torture. I said to Mark, bet you anything's going to be about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Didn't I? I said that to you. When they feel that the network of humanitarians online will have gone, okay, it's probably another night before they're going to do anything.
Well, as someone just said there, I thought it was a false alarm. You fell into the trap that the Israelis wanted you to, which was, I thought it was a false alarm. But there were many false alarms in the run-up to the alarm. And of course, it tried to diminish.
And on the live, we were saying last night, whatever happens, even if there's 10 false alarms, we have to give the same energy. Because if you think about it, if I was the army, I'd be going, do a few. Because then every time everybody rises up and goes, this is it, eventually they're going to stop doing that. And they're going to think they're crying wolf. Well, we were fully aware that it was psychological torture. I just want to, and then so when they were finally arrested, we shouldn't say that. They had no authority to arrest them. When they were taken hostage, can you imagine how exhausted they were, because they'd had that adrenaline lift. Now, as they will say, this is a millionth of what they've been doing to the Palestinians day after day after day, phoning them saying, move from your home, then move your other, then knocking down their home, starving them, keeping them even from having enough water. So this was, they would say this, this was a speck compared to what's, and that's what they wanted to highlight.
A number of you are asking, will Starmer say anything? Starmer has said nothing of any significance yet, so he's not going to say anything. I think we have to stop. We have to stop hoping. We have to stop screaming. We have to stop shouting.
But it's interesting to keep watching and keep holding him accountable and keep tagging him in on everything.
But it's unforgivable. But so I just want to unpack where we're at now. And so they've been taken into custody. We haven't heard from them. They have, here's the latest footage that's been posted of them on board being taken by the Israelis. And the Israelis posted this as, let's say, propaganda. They wanted to be shown, you know, being kind to the parents, handing out water, bread.
I think they have to do this because everybody's watching, not like 2010.
They're prisoners now. They've been handed out bread and chicken.
Oh, this is them like doing we're the most moral army in the world.
Look at the guy at the front.
I know.
So here's the thing. So just when you think Israel can't become more politically repulsive on the global stage, so they've now characterized the flotilla as the celebrity selfie ship.
Yes. Did you know that?
Celebrity selfie ship.
I thought I was going to be sick when Mark told me that.
Israel Katz, their war minister, defense minister, the one who said you have the option of being eliminated, he's going to force them to watch footage from October the 7th. Now, let's not forget.
Is that another war crime?
Let's not forget.
When you force people to watch footage.
Well, look, October the 7th happened.
And it was horrific. But ever since October the 7th, so many questions have been posed around the validity and the veracity of a lot of the footage that has been shown to various people. Let's not forget, Biden said he saw things that he never saw. But then the White House had to apologize for.
The New York Times reported things that hadn't happened.
And the list of massacres that have happened to the Palestinians this long, over 75 years. I'm sure you're not allowed. I'm sure that's some sort of code of behaviour broken again.
So they're going to be forced to watch. They're going to be forced to watch footage of October the 7th. What I would suggest to them then is then force the IDF to watch everything we've seen in Gaza ever since.
That's such a good idea.
Why doesn't our government say, perhaps we should send you a pool together of all of the horror that we've seen?
As the director of that we were talking to, the director of encampments the other day said, Clockwork Orange, eyes pinned open, just looking at the horrors, hearing the screams. In fact, it might be a really good time to just drop in now the James from UNICEF, one of the oldest and most respected charities. James has been out to Gaza so many times, and he is always so mindful with his language and everything. This is what moved me to tears this morning, just before on Instagram, because I just listened to this. And this is what the Freedom Flotilla are about. How dare you call them selfie seekers? How dare you call them egomaniacs or whatever else? This is what they are. And we are all sick to death of actually watching and hearing live streams.
And just to say, Happy B, I just popped your comment up. You're right. To show them the footage of October the 7th is torture.
It is.
It's torture.
I'm sure it's illegal, but then, but we don't have any international law anymore.
Israel doesn't do it.
Because
Israel can't do anything
Israel
illegal.
and America have broken down international law, because international law was only meant for other countries, not for
colonial settlers.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is audio. I don't think there's any footage, is there? At the beginning
it's
of
audio.
It's all audio.
He's in the tent.
Do just listen to this.
Night after night, I can hear the screams from tents. Air attacks, bombs, tank fire, kids being burnt in their tents. God, those kids will get to a hospital, maybe the ones that are horrendously burnt. Limbs burnt off there, there'll be no medicines, no painkillers, because they're denied entry. Those children will lie there screaming in pain as they are right now, and they'll be not denied the ability to leave here. Bombed in their tents, somehow survive, writhing pain, denied painkillers, denied medicines, and then denied a chance of life by living. Denied life.
Thank you, James. Thank you, James. James, who's been believed in every other military aggression that he's visited to, always believed, and yet he's not listened to at all. Now, also, what was on that boat was medical supplies, right? Because they haven't been allowed in. Also on that boat was baby formula, because I can tell you this, those children that James from UNICEF was talking about will also be probably next to babies that are dying from starvation, because baby formula is not in the food packages that will hold 4 packets of pasta with no fuel and no water to boil the pasta. So shame on our media, shame on them. Somebody said there earlier about the headline was the Freedom Flotilla was diverted.
Hang on, I've got it. Gaza aid ship with Greta Thunberg on board. You couldn't have...
They put that name in because they know people hate her.
Hang on. I find this headline
disgusting.
The most outrageously disrespectful piece of so-called journalism by the BBC. They have taken out of this anything that's human. Anything that's human. That the mere
shame on them when all these babies.
The mere functionality of it. Now, Liam Cunningham, the
shame.
actor, who was on board the flotilla for a while. I just want to share you this image that he screenshotted today. Then we're going to get to the really quite distressing comments from Piers Morgan. Silence to subdue the public. This was a reshare from Liam Cunningham from News Corp. The Madeleine was UK flagged. Therefore, the British government had responsibility for it. We've not heard a fucking peep. given the mission's importance and relevancy to the British public. And let's not forget, millions, hundreds of thousands of people were engaged. There are now 1.2 million followers of the Gaza Flotilla, Freedom Flotilla Instagram account. But your media, our media, and your government and our government sought not to say anything. They're running out of time. They're running out of fucking road space, this government. Sky News mentioned it 3 times. One of those times, they really just spouted out Israeli propaganda, and only kind of through the descriptions of the humanitarians on board the ship, they threw the same descriptions that the Israeli government gave them, which was outrageous. They did 2 other reports on it. The Guardian covered it twice. The Independent, 8 times. The BBC once, and I looked at this, I've been following this in the run-up, and it was 2 hours before the kidnapping. With that headline. With a headline just saying that
they're being diverted.
Yes. Here, in a further detail, Israel warns it will stop. 79% of the top half of the article that was eventually delivered by the BBC was dedicated to the Israeli Defense Minister's Israel Katz unfounded claims and justifications. That's 184 words dedicated to parroting rhetoric, such as hate flotilla. And this is the journalistic part of it. So fuck all you journalists who say you have to observe impartiality without critique, and without explaining the humanitarian mission of the Madeleine.
Oh my God, I have to be careful now because I'm sorry, I'm going to have to watch myself.
So something that so many people are feeling so much emotion about, this is what some cold-hearted fuck does at the BBC.
And also they know Greta Thunberg is a name that for some reason inflames people.
Whoa, and it's
a brilliant young woman who puts the planet before her own bloody life. But people hate her because people want big fat cars.
Okay, well,
and people want 100 flights a year.
Piers Morgan, 1 hour ago, shut up, Greta Thunberg, you attention-seeking narcissist. What an insult to the actual hostages in Gaza who were really kidnapped. This stupid stunt is all about your ego and will make 0 difference to the plight of innocent Palestinians caught up in this dreadful war.
Right, well, let's make him very wrong about that, because spread and spread and spread on social media how these are humanitarians, how, I mean, there's hundreds of people marching. I wish I would be there. I would be there if I could be there, walking from Egypt to the Rafah border. Now there's, and on the side of Israel, there's Israelis and Palestinians, walking up and along, holding photographs of the murdered children, Palestinian children. So, sorry, Piers. I'm sorry, Piers.
It's a shame, isn't it?
That's
it's a shame, because, of course, like we've always said, when Piers is on your side, there's no one better. But he obviously is trying to navigate that narrow, narrow passage between those who can't ever stand Greta Thunberg. But also, yeah, absolutely. Okay, we are going to move on. We're going to move to America. We're going to move to. I'm going to show you some images from America.
I just wanted to say one thing. Sorry, just one last thing. The media who didn't report on this. It's not like this shit came out of nowhere. We have the story of 2010 when 10 of them were shot dead.
0 investigation of that.
Right? 0. So imagine being a journalist and not being fascinated, even if you're just cold-heartedly looking at, well, this is fascinating.
Could this happen again?
Because this is actually a very, if you're not even thinking of the human being, wow. Oh, so like a load of people could be shot. One of them, Greta Thunberg, who is incredibly famous, could be shot. And there wasn't any interest in that. I feel sorry for the journalists who we know damn well will have been passionately interested in that and desperate to do something about it, but will have been stopped by whomever.
So moving across the globe to Los Angeles, and it is specifically Los Angeles, but don't be at all under any illusion that this is not going to erupt in other parts of America, most, Chicago, New York, other places. So be prepared. What you're seeing in Los Angeles, I'm just going to show you some images. This is, really it kicked off on Friday. Donald Trump sent in the National Guard.
But the reason it's kicked off is, why are people out on the streets? Because of the appalling way that ICE have been behaving, kidnapping people off the street, video after video of children screaming. I saw one the other day of a woman. She was being dragged. She was begging with the ICE, and she was on her knees pleading, saying, I don't want to die in Honduras. I don't want to die in Honduras. As her children were watching, she had Her husband was there crying. They had 6 daughters at home, 6 children, that they were ripping this mother, shoving her into a van. She then couldn't breathe as she was put in there. And there's multiple videos like that. And what a lot of people don't realize is that people can be illegally immigrants for decades, but they pay tax. They're not allowed any of the services. They're not allowed any healthcare or anything, but they pay tax, and they pay a huge amount of money actually into the economy. So it was kind of people coming out in the streets.
And the really important thing to stress here, because I've just seen Jesse say domestic terrorism is skyrocketing across America. Let's just hold that thought for a minute, and we'll unpack what domestic terrorism is in a minute. I'm not meaning to suggest we don't know. We don't live in America. I'm sure there is violence. I'm sure there are agitators. Violence, I'm sure that there are kind of domestic terrorist type cells and all that, as there are militias, far right militias across America, armed and ready to go. The situation in LA was there were peaceful protests happening downtown in opposition, as you rightly say, to ICE, which was, the Immigration and Customs group that were seeking to rip children, mums, as Nadia says, people who've been there for many years out of society and deport. We've seen this and let me just explain this to you. We've said it for a long time. I've said for a long time, none of Trump's mission statements are working. He hasn't solved Gaza. He hasn't solved Ukraine.
It's caused more trouble everywhere.
His big and beautiful bill ruptured his relationship with Musk. It's going to destroy the economy. The tariffs haven't worked. He's had to climb down everywhere. Nothing is working for him. Even the people that he sent off to El Salvador, one of them's being brought back to be charged on trumped up.
Well, they weren't, and they were stopped from sending any more because he was planning busload after busload.
So what we have here is, and this is where I want you to make the connection between what has happened to the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza by the IDF and by the Israeli government, and then look at a sector of American society that has been squeezed to the margins, has very little, has been demonized, has had hope and possibility taken away from them, is currently in a situation where they know they have a president who is garnering support for them to be removed from the country, thrown out. So you've got a sector of society in America, not entirely dissimilar to the ways in which the Palestinians are being treated, which is you've got no hope, you've got no life, you've got nothing you can rely on, you've got no future, and you're going to have no home. So take all of that.
Very similar. And also, I just want to say, it's not just those people. It is thousands upon thousands of humanitarian Americans that do not like what they are seeing. There are whole towns that are losing people, and I saw an interview the other day with somebody who voted for Trump, and she said, I wanted immigration sorted, but I didn't know it was going to be my friend or the lovely woman that works in the cafe. So it's a real cross-section of people that are really angry. And just quickly, just to make a note, Netanyahu, it's all about saving his ass, isn't it? Because they need him to go to court. And Epstein files were mentioned. Saying. So just want to say 2 days ago.
So here's a very similar, very simplistic psychotherapy, psychoanalytical process of what Trump's doing, like what Netanyahu's done. You take away a people's hope. And in the process, you force them to a place of some kind of kickback, desperation, or bite back. It becomes a tinderbox. You remove opportunities, you remove a future, you remove rights, and you disenfranchise people. Now, in this instance in Los Angeles, that hadn't led to domestic terrorism yet. What's inflamed it is sending in the National Guard. Now, I know MeTube is talking about the fact that the governor of California is the one that has to send in the National Guard.
Has to ask for it.
Yeah. But Trump has created this conflict and this situation on the streets of Los Angeles. And we're going to show you some clips.
And Gavin Newsom was, if they had it in hand. Have we got any clips of Gavin as well?
I'm going to show that. I've got Gavin, I've got Truth Social clips. I've even got Donald Trump talking as well. So I'm just going to show you some footage just to give you a sense of these are images that you can see on the ground. This is in LA. This is downtown LA. We know Dale's Donuts. I've driven past one of those. Look. Okay, so here's some footage. The police are flying catastrophic. It's mainly photographers getting their shots. Where are the Where are the riots? So you've got footage like that. Now, the interesting thing about you remember the LA riots back in the 90s. I mean, so it's really easy when you see footage with tear gas and stuff like that to assume that the police are genuinely fighting something. This is optics. This is optics, which is what Donald Trump knows. They've been sent in heavy-handed to provoke. You kettle a crowd panics, and they kick back. Then, as a police officer, you have what you've been looking for. Violence and resistance of some
or your
form.
president has demanded you look for, because actually I thought, and as Gavin Newsom said, governor of LA, you know, he's put our troops in harm's way. I mean, there'll be many that are thinking, what the hell are we doing here? But you've got to do what the president says, haven't you?
Here's Donald Trump on it in the kind of build up to this kind of tinderbox that is still in place as we speak.
Yeah, are you prepared to invoke the Insurrection Act?
Depends on whether or not there's an insurrection. No, but you have violent people, and we're not going to let them get away with it. We're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart. When they spit at people, you know, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them,
rhyming.
Nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
They spit.
We hit.
I mean, is this the leader of America? I mean, really?
He was doing rhyming. He was doing rhyming sounds.
We hit. Okay, I'm going to show you some of the footage. Then we're going to go to Gavin Newsom.
And don't forget, right from before he took office, he kept using this word, invasion.
So Trump has federalized the National Guard for the first time since 1992. This is, and again,
everybody into the street.
We're watching live pictures here. This is from Los Angeles, outside a metropolitan detention center, where over the course of the last 2 hours, we've seen the size of the federal forces there grow. Not just National Guard troops, and that's our Kyung Lao right in the middle of it. I want to make sure she stays safe, and her photojournalist. We've watched.
And then this clip.
The standing of this situation has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA. You just shut the fuck up. You okay?
Oh, it's fierce this round. Shooting journalists.
So it feels...
That was America.
That's America, guys. That's America.
What was she doing? Was there even anyone around her causing any trouble? She just got shot, an Australian journalist, in the leg.
More footage here. This is the soldiers going in.
Going into what?
Going into, it's like they're pressing against an imaginary enemy.
Look at those numbers.
Look. It's provocation. Look, none of the crowd.
Obviously, there will be some people that loot. There's some people that, you know, well, there we go, a car on fire. There is no doubt about that. There always is in anything like this. But as Gavin Newsom said, totally unneeded, that presence. At what cost as well? I mean, the thing is, in America, people are really suffering financially. Yeah. And billions of your tax dollars goes to Israel. And what's the cost of this?
What is really interesting when you look at this footage, most of the footage is an awful lot of armed soldiers types, National Guard, with no one to really do anything about. So they're just firing willy-nilly into the distance. Let's listen to Gavin Newsom. Now, what's most notable about this, I was just saying to Natasha before this, is Gavin Newsom has decided to do a big interview, not with the legacy media. This, I hope, is the way forward. Independent journalism, independent channels that become cradles like ours has become for God, you know, places where you can talk about things in a way that isn't controlled by the mainstream media. And this interview is worth listening to all of it. I've taken the first 3 minutes, but do go to
Trump has federalized
the account.
Brian Tyler Cohen, and he's done the whole interview, Gavin Newsom, with this guy on his YouTube channel.
And this is fascinating. And as Nadia quite rightly says, try and imagine what's going to happen when Trump wakes up this morning.
Oh my God!
And sees this interview.
You've got to, the whole interview.
Trump has federalized the National Guard. First and foremost, did the National Guard need to come into California?
Of course not. He flamed the fires. This is exactly what he wanted. This is what he intended by illegally acting to federalize the National Guard. We're going to be initiating a lawsuit first thing tomorrow morning, and it did exactly what we told his team it would do. It would inflame the anxiety, would inflame the conditions, and the most important thing he can do if he wants this thing behind us is to rescind his order and to get back into some semblance of orderly life here that he created.
Well, you had mentioned if he wants to reduce tensions that he will rescind this order, but isn't that the issue at hand here, that he doesn't want?
No, he wants, I mean, he's literally created these conditions. He wants to exacerbate the problems. He completely colored them in. He overstated everything. He knowingly went in a reckless way, did something that's almost without precedent in our lifetime, unconstitutional, illegal, immoral, because he knew full well what would persist on the ground. His team knows that as well. And that's exactly what this is all about. This is Trump's mess. He created it. He knew full well what would happen if he did this. He offered no support, no counsel, no advice, no other consideration. He just acted.
And he goes on to say that because Brian asked him about the phone call that Trump had with him, he said he did not say any of that. He's a cold, hard liar. And he
describes Pete Hegseth as an absolute excuse. Here's the thing. When Trump wakes up, I'm just going to show you what Trump's
going to go mad.
Well, this is Trump's last two messages. You know he's angry when he doesn't do great long paragraphs. Because let me show you his first paragraph originally was this. The highly respected LAPD chief just stated that the protesters are getting very much more aggressive and that he would have to reassess the situation as it pertains to bringing in the troops. He should right now. Don't let these thugs get away with this. Make America great again. Then his last two were arrest the people in face masks now. This is 4 hours ago.
Just arrest anyone with a face mask on.
Looking really bad in LA. Bring in the troops.
Oh my God, this man just sat in his bloody bedroom playing games.
And if there was any hope that Elon Musk might be shifting or pivoting, unfortunately,
Elon Musk has
reshared this, a previous Trump Truth Social post. Governor Gavin Newsom, who we've just been watching.
Wow.
They actually use this language. And Mayor Bass should apologize to the people of LA for the horrible job they've done. And this now includes the ongoing LA riots. These are not protesters. They're troublemakers and insurrectionists. And the problem here is...
no masks. Guess what? The ICE guys arrive to arrest people with masks on and don't show any ID. So people don't know whether they're being kidnapped. This is often women on their own in the street, whether they're being kidnapped or whether they're being arrested. And you're saying to these people, no mask. Oh my God. Sorry if I'm shouting.
No, that's fine. It's just quite echoey. America, this is very symbolic. Francis Winrow, you're absolutely right. Historical precedent. America is following almost date for date, event for event, stepping in the footsteps of Weimar Republic Germany in the build-up to Hitler's fascist taking of power. This is America's Kristallnacht, where they went round smashing up the houses, smashing up all the businesses, burning books. This is petrifying.
Feels like that, doesn't it?
And what you have to understand is, so the reason I kind of honed in on the comment that someone made earlier, I know you haven't, I don't think you've commented before about there's domestic terrorism everywhere. Just pause, I think, before you say that, because it's never as straightforward as you think. Just because you see the police running at a crowd doesn't mean, certainly in this instance, doesn't mean they need to be running at a crowd.
I mean, he loves theatricals. He loves drama. His biographer was saying yesterday, people really have to understand he cares nothing for anyone or anything except the headlines. And don't forget, a few days ago, Musk brought up the Epstein files. Trump didn't answer that. And it just, does Musk have receipts on that? He's hacked into all the data. Maybe he's seen something, maybe he's photographed something. So, could this be the most major theatrical distraction from everything? Because nobody's talking about Musk or Epstein, are they?
Laurie Sue Cragen clamped, not seen your comment. Thank you for commenting, first timer. I live in the US. What is being perpetrated by Trump's fascist regime is unconscionable and egregious.
And we feel so afraid for you. Yeah. In our thousands, in our millions, we're all Palestinians. Look at Palestine. Look at what America is doing in Palestine, because of course America funds 100%. Israel is America in the Middle East. Again, we were talking to the director of the Encampments film about the student demonstrations, across America. And what did he say? It's the aircraft carrier. Israel is the aircraft carrier for America. So what they are doing there, they can do to you. And that's why when people like Piers Morgan say, and when Israel want us to laugh and joke and say these people are just egotists, these people are just selfie hunters, we mustn't allow that to happen. We must be, the social media force.
I'll tell you now, social media
is powerful. If you can be a humanitarian warrior from your home on your keyboard,
but you have to tread carefully, because just because these social media platforms are also owned by billionaires. They're also in the pressure groups and the trade lobbies with the governments and everything. You've got to be careful. Nadia often says this. There will come a point where I think, on the one hand, the non-legacy media has worked for Trump. If you think of the Joe Rogan, non-legacy was part of what got Trump in. Non-legacy media. That's why it's a very clever move that Gavin Newsom's done there. The left, people on the left, or people who are libertarian, not even libertarian. This isn't even about liberalism.
Can you imagine?
This is humanitarian.
CNN, Fox, all these channels will be just going, what the fuck? Gavin Newsom gave an interview like this, not to us, not on television. Well,
Blue Sky is growing so rapidly. It's an alternative to X. Do go to Blue Sky. I have set up an account on Blue Sky. I
don't know about
haven't gained purchase yet. It was kind of as a reaction against Musk taking control of X. I mean, progressive, if that's the word, what are we all wanting to be? Progressive, fairer, kinder, empathetic, equal. That's not woke. That is not what. Do not let people tell you that is woke.
I was reading a story yesterday about one of the people, because thousands of people are walking, or hundreds or thousands, I'm not sure, from Egypt to the Rafah border, peacefully and quietly to again highlight what is going on. They're taking food. Of course, it's about the PR for the Palestinian, trying to raise awareness. And one of the people that I said to Mark, can you imagine how many incredible stories there can be of those people marching? Oh my God, I would so love to do them. And one of the people was on the boat in 2010, the Freedom Flotilla, where 10 of his colleagues were killed. He was probably taken hostage himself. And he's going, and he said, I have two youngest children, and they don't want me to go because, of course, there's going to be an element of danger. And he said, I have to. The bravery of that. He said to them, I have to try and make a better world for you to grow up in. Sacrifice. Don't let these bloated, immoral people make you sneer at these truly brave individuals massing together. And we can be brave in our own ways. We have to be brave to do this. We'll be brave talking to somebody at work that didn't want to talk about it. There's a way.
But also, there will be lots of people like us. We would be out there, but we have children. The children have requested. Children get fearful. Lots of parents. I was talking to Natasha. You're talking about your fears as a parent, as a mum of a child. So many parents, but of grown-up children. Grown-up kids are worried. They're scared. They see. People like the Flotilla, they see that there are real world consequences by real marauding monsters on this planet. Lex, can I just quickly just say on that, because I've heard the same story and I was pausing as I saw people championing Blue Sky. I too have heard that Blue Sky has been quite sensory around Palestinian posts and Palestinian. It's like nowhere seems to be shot. You can't seem to get rid of the Zionist program in so many different places. So I have heard that Blue Sky, and I've seen reports saying
but like Meta, so the thing is, that's why we always say when you're looking at accounts and something touches your heart and or leaves you feeling, a crushing sense of injustice, share it quickly, because that's what the algorithm needs. Save it, save every post. The algorithm picks on, and don't just put an emoji under an Instagram post. That doesn't help. You've got to make a comment. You've got to make an actual comment for the algorithm to push it out. Another way of being a humanitarian warrior from your own home without having to take too much risk.
I mean, look at the situation with Lineker. I mean, absolutely. Always look at where people but this is just a note for kind of just practical activism. Most people get themselves caught out by reposts. So be
Read
careful.
everything.
Sometimes if you're feeling something strongly and you see a post that articulates it for you, just pause and maybe think, can I put what it's saying in a different way and I don't get associated with that account? Because you always look at the source account, go to their feed, check their followers, check if there's you've got to do a kind of, within there are ways of doing due diligence, go and check who's following who they follow, and all that kind of stuff. Is there a website? Is there some other organization backing them up?
Adam Mockler. We should check out Adam Mockler. Can you write down? I love it when people give us, because my phone's off. Can you write Adam Mockler? I love it when you give us recommendations. And so on this, the next group of humanitarians that are taking their lives in their hands for a better world, the ones that are marching from Egypt to Rafah border, let's support them in the same way that we have the Flotilla, because again, legacy media is not going to probably do a damn thing about it. And then horrible people will just try and smear them and make out that they're just show-offs. So let's support them.
Can I ask a question? And this is too big a question for the amount of time we've got left, but it's something I'd really like us to discuss. And I'm trying to think what the podcast was we were listening to on the way. I think it was the Young Turks. We have such a profound disconnect. The system, and it's a variously different system in America and the UK. The systems of democracy aren't working. Not only the systems of democracy not working, but the systems of communications and news gathering are not working. What does one do? Because the system will disallow someone, as we were hearing about the Democrat who was kind of like a progressive, who was squeezed out of American politics. If we were to want to mobilize a party, you'd have to mobilize a party, then you have to start ticking all the boxes of the system again. The system is stacked against what feels right and progressive.
But we have power in our millions, in our thousands, in our millions, we have power. Shop at the co-op, people. The co-op are divesting from Israel, and they also, and I know this straight from the horse's mouth, they approached Zaytoun, who are the fantastic olive oil providers that take everything directly from the poor Palestinian farmers who are desperately trying to hang on to their olive trees, and they approached them and asked to stock Zaytoun olive oil in the co-op. Buy Huda makeup. Huda makeup is lovely, I'm going to do a post about Huda makeup. I love Huda makeup. She just gave $1 million to Palestine, and she has supported them right from the beginning. So I think it's time to really support and promote those people that have helped.
Me too.
Interesting, lots of people wouldn't know this, and I've had arguments with people about it. Charlotte Tilbury. People go, I've posted about Charlotte Tilbury, but Charlotte Tilbury can't be. Charlotte Tilbury employed Bella Hadid after Adidas sacked her for being Palestinian. So,
Me too. I don't know if I agree. No system works if people are willing to break the laws. What about if the system is breaking the laws against the civilians?
We're seeing the system breaking the laws all the time.
You could argue that most of the Palestinians are breaking the law. If you don't break, what about if those laws are egregious, corrosive, destructive, and wrong? I mean, I get what.
My biggest problem is, first and foremost, is our leaders are breaking the laws and then attacking the very organizations that have been put in place to watch over and keep the world safe.
I mean, can I encourage you, YouTube, to listen to the Young Turks did an interview with a progressive Democrat senator.
Fascinating.
Who went through the entire system of observing the rules, and the system squeezed her out.
I think you'll really enjoy it.
I think you'll find it interesting because I think, these systems that why do we blithely and blindly sign up to them? Just because they're there doesn't mean they're right. I mean, I'm getting to that point. I'm getting to the point of thinking, I don't think you can be a progressive politician as a politician. I think you can only be a progressive activist.
What frightens me is that the ICJ now has got sanctions on them for trying to uphold international law. And that's a very dangerous place because we all want to be law-abiding citizens. We certainly are. We would never break the law in any of our campaigning or anything. But it's quite rich, isn't it, when we're watching? I mean, Trump is a convicted felon over and over and over again. And he's talking about law and order. Netanyahu is doing so much of what he's doing to avoid court. Watch the BB files, you know. So it's a bit rich, isn't it, when we've got them telling us that we are that the whole world is not behaving properly in the way that they want it to.
Okay, so Lynn J, thank you so much. You've gifted 5 more memberships. The Sunday show, due to Wi-Fi issues, couldn't go yesterday. I kind of felt it might have been connected to the entire coverage around the Gaza flotilla. That will be uploading later today. So those five people will have anonymously been given memberships.
That's so kind. Thank you.
Kind of you.
And also we're going to be uploading a film to the Curly Cooks members area as well.
That's gone up.
No, but I'm going to do another little one.
Oh, okay. The couple one's gone up. Okay. All right, guys. And GM Lovely has just gifted 5 memberships too. So keep your eyes peeled. You will get a notification once you remember.
But what you can do to help us is subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button. It's only Mark and I. You know, we're up till 2 a.m. We're back early today. That is so powerful to us. If you subscribe and you share this video so that we can get the word. If you give me 1,000 new subscribers that know every single thing about Gaza, or you give me one that's new, that comes to it and says, I didn't know anything, that is just beautiful. So please share.
And I just want to give another shout out to Christos, a detail that I think I know where this detail needs to be really honed in on, and I really hope Jeremy Corbyn, he's the guy inside the House of Commons who presses all the right buttons. I mean, you know, you feel is he ever making progress though? But he keeps doing it, in full respect to him. The RAF were fully involved last night. The RAF had two planes. Christos was watching the monitoring of air traffic over from Cyprus. The RAF were involved. Starmer can't pretend that he didn't know about this or that he doesn't have an opinion on this. He will have had an opinion on this because his military team was involved last night.
And he'll say fast, listen, let me be clear.
Yeah,
and
you don't understand.
I want politicians to be banned from saying, let me be clear, because nothing is ever clear. Everything is always opaque. It's not clear. So stop saying it. I want them to say, let me be opaque. Let me just give you a word salad. Sorry.
I mean, I'm frighteningly close to suggesting revolution.
He's joking. Yeah. He's not.
Right.
The revolution is here.
It is insane. The revolution is insane. The revolution is an independent news coverage, an independent news gathering, and online and real life communities that come together, pull together. There is so much strength to be found in camaraderie. There is so much strength to be found, like when we saw the encampments documentary, when we're on the marches, but equally around what's happening in America. When we see you Americans that come on these lives in America who are as concerned as us, and I know that you must feel like you're tarnished by the same brush because of Trump. You know, in previous years, prior to the Gaza crisis as it is now, I remember being in New York when the last Trump presidency was active, and so many New Yorkers I met would just they'd hear my British accent, they'd literally go, I'm so sorry about Trump. I mean, there's such upset.
I love that from Sharon. Let me be condescending. Yeah. That's what it means, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, Sharon.
So guys, hey, post about the co-op, post about hood and makeup. Yeah. You know, let's reward those.
Keep sharing, keep watching, and as I say, for members, something will be landing later, and something else will be landing on the main channel too. Lots of love, guys. Thanks for all of your comments, all your support, and all of your research.